District Governor Carol Burdette.
Thank you. Well, I'm honored to be here with you today, but I must recognize a few folks before I get into my remarks. I want to thank Mark, our Assistant Governor, not only for introducing me today, but for his service as our Assistant Governor for this area. I immediately had a bond with your President, Max, when we met, and what a wonderful young man you have leading your club. I also have a few other folks in the audience, and I could do this for several people, but there's certain people that I want to make sure are recognized. Angela Viney is heading up our foundation event that will be here in Spartanburg in November. You'll hear a little more about that in a few moments. Thank you, Angela. I also could not possibly get up here today without recognizing Paige Stevenson, my United Way colleague. We've been spending a lot of time together lately working on some United Way things for the state. I also want to say a good hello to Don Woodward, who was the president of your club 10 years ago when I was governor, and it was so good to see him today. He did ask me if I was crazy, and I pretty much said yes, but I'm also delighted. And last but not least in the audience, Frank Lee is here. And I hope that I will not disappoint Frank. He was my Dale Carnegie instructor many, many years ago, so I have a lot to live up to with that reputation. And I said last but not least, but I have to say to Byron Morris, his father-in-law was one of my biggest supporters when I was mayor of Pendleton so many years ago. So Byron, it's awfully good to see you here today. And I know I could say a lot more. Forgive me if I know you and I did not recognize you today. But I am honored to be with you today, and I've made a lot of jokes about being Rotary governor for the second time, like I didn't get it right. I must have been asked so that I could do it better this time. Actually, in 2008, despite a negative economy, we had an outstanding Rotary year. But one of the most exciting things about being Rotary governor this time is that Rotary has come so far in the last decade. It's amazing to me the progress we've made in the world, and it's because of great Rotarians like those of you here in the Spartanburg Club. Our theme this year, as you see on the banner, is Be the Inspiration. There are also Be the Inspiration pins in front of you. I hope you will take that and you will wear that pin proudly. But I have a question for you today. Are you an inspiration? Do those that are around you, could they answer that you inspire them? If not, I ask you today, what would I have to do to become an inspiration? Because as Rotarians, we have opportunities to change the world. When I was here as governor before 10 years ago, I can promise you that I opened my remarks with a number. That number was 26,000. Now that year, our theme had to do with childhood mortality. That number, 26,000, had to do with the number of children dying every day from preventable causes. And as I said 10 years ago, most of the time when people hear that, they think of children somewhere in Africa or Haiti or somewhere they will never see them. But you see, during my year as governor that year, one day I was on my way from Anderson back home to Pendleton from work, and I saw a line of tail lights in front of me on a busy highway called US 76. All of a sudden I'm detoured off and I'm wondering what has happened. A very unfortunate and horrific accident had happened. A 4-year-old little girl, not in a car seat, had opened the back door of her mom's car. The rest is history. It was horrific. The question is, did the mom not have the money for a car seat, or did she not know the value of having a car seat? That same year, I picked up my paper on Thanksgiving morning as I was sitting drinking my coffee, and a little boy in Easley, South Carolina, that's not that far from here, he had been beaten to death with a broom handle at the hand of someone he believed loved him, his own father. So when we talk about preventing childhood mortality, it is not just in Africa or Haiti. It could be right here in Spartanburg, South Carolina. As Rotarians, we have so much work to do. But the good news is that I was in Toronto a few months ago for the Rotary International Convention, and they brought up that number again, the number of children dying every day from preventable causes. That number right now is 15,000. Now, I'm not a mathematician, but I can add and subtract, and I tell you that that difference is 11,000. 11,000 children less every day. Can Rotary take credit for all of that? Not completely, but you better bet we have a lot to do with it. Why is that? Think of the millions of children that we have provided vaccine for who will never have polio because you and I are willing to make a contribution. You see, in 1985, when we started the campaign to eradicate polio from the face of the earth, there were 350,000 cases every year. To date, there are 18 cases. Those are in Afghanistan and Pakistan. We must keep up the work until it is finished. Our district, under the leadership of a guy named Al Steele, has provided clean, clear water to 1,649 families in Honduras. That is about 10,000 individuals. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen the face of a child that turns on the spigot for the first time and sees clean water come out. It is amazing. And if you've never seen it in person, surely you've seen a picture in the Rotarian magazine. It's kind of like the child in Haiti who gets a book from our district who's never even seen or held a book, and someone reads it to them. It is an experience and a gesture they will never forget. How does that happen? It's because of your generosity to the Rotary Foundation. Now, not all of the money for the Rotary Foundation is spent somewhere else in the world. Half of that money comes right back here to Rotary District 7750. In fact, your work providing water filters in Peru makes a difference in the world. Now, I talk a lot about why we do the things we do for children, but it's because I believe if we want to change our future, it starts with our precious children. Now, the Rotary Foundation is the gateway to doing good in the world, but the Spartanburg Rotary Club is the gateway to doing good in Spartanburg. In 1917, when Arch Klump stood before the thousands of Rotarians in Atlanta, Georgia, and he said, "We're going to create an endowment for doing good," I doubt he had any idea what that endowment would look like 100 years later, that we would be fighting disease, providing clean water, saving women and children, growing local economies, and promoting peace. But why should we be surprised about that? We are people of action. As Quint Studer said, never underestimate the difference that you can make. Every one of you can make a difference. And while you're making that difference, don't forget to wear your Rotary hat and your Rotary shirt in your branding. And I want to applaud you while I'm here to say that I am so proud of your downtown clock and the way that you are shining Rotary's light right here in Spartanburg, South Carolina, in honor of the 100 years that you have been doing good in this community. Speaking of doing good, November 29th, we're going to have the chairman of the Rotary Foundation for the entire world right here in Spartanburg. Spartanburg Methodist College is working with us to host Ron Burton, who is a past RI president and chairman of the Rotary Foundation this year. And I want you to come over and celebrate with us. Celebrate the good that we're doing for the world and for communities just like Spartanburg all over our district. Now, Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Service is the rent we pay for living on this earth." So my question to you today, is your rent in arrears, or are you all paid up? You see, strong, healthy Rotary clubs keep its members engaged in service. And I've just been in a meeting with your board, and I've heard about the great service projects that you're doing. Your Rotary Reader, your Every Child Deserves a Good Book, your experiences with Youth Exchange, your Spartanburg Sings, your scholarships, and the list went on and on of things that you're doing in the community. That's what makes Rotarians want to stay in your club, because you're serving, you're having fun. But most of all, and these two guys right here, they talked about Rotary membership, giving the gift of Rotary to others. Someone gave you the gift. So will you invite your neighbors, your coworkers, your family members, and others to join this great organization with a motto of service above self? Now this year, building on the idea that Governor Lance and Governor Ed had the past couple of years, that if you sponsored a member, gave to the Rotary Foundation, provided service in a service project, I added something to that and said that I want you to promote Rotary's public image. Put a post on Facebook. Let people know that you're a Rotarian. And if you do those things, not only do you get a pin this year, but I asked my successors, I said, if we do this, can we give this a name? The Governor's Leadership Society. So we did that. So I'm going to ask your president and Betsy Neely Sigma to come up, because they're going to be your initial members from your club of the Governor's Leadership Society. And as Betsy's coming up, I would say that I'm so proud of Max, because he is leading by example. Whoops. Okay. Got it? Betsy, congratulations. I'm so proud of you. Now, I did tell Governor-elect Rob and successor Beth that we may call it the Governor's Leadership Society, but that I will have the best looking pins ever. So just saying. And one of those pins could belong to each one of you if you will do those 4 things. So as I finalize my remarks today, I have 2 things left that I want to share with you. One, that as I was preparing to go to the Rotary International Convention in Atlanta last summer, I received a call from the sister of my very best friend from our teen years. Her name is Fonda. We were inseparable. We did everything together. We went to church camp together. We played softball together. I was in her wedding, and I could go on and on. She was a talented musician, a loving mother of 2 great sons. She had this contagious smile and loving spirit. But at age 46, something happened to my friend. She started forgetting things. And then it progressively got worse. Last summer at age 56, she lost her life. We know that dementia and Alzheimer's is something that it takes someone's life long before their funeral service. But I can tell you that it was so heartbreaking for me to have lost her at such an early age, and to know that that disease and what it had done to her for 10 years. There were days that she couldn't remember how to get ice out of the freezer into a cup, or how to start her car. So when I went to the CART conference last May, I looked at our CART chairman for the district and I said, Steve, I know that we have traditionally raised about $50,000. Do you think that next year we could raise $100,000? And he kind of winked at me and said, I think so. So we are on a journey to raise $100,000 this year for CART. Why is that important? That extra $50,000 to a researcher could change everything for Alzheimer's. So I hope that you will join me this year. I've already given $1,000 personally. And at each club meeting, I have challenged, if there's someone in this club that has a friend or a loved one that is either suffering or has suffered from Alzheimer's, will you join me in becoming a CART champion and giving $1,000 personally? We want to make a difference with this disease. Now, my friend Fonda also loved to have fun. So on the opening night of our district conference in Clemson next May, that's May 17th, 18th, and 19th, we're going to have CART night. I hope we'll be giving our CART director a large check. But we want to honor our CART champions. We want to honor those that have lost their lives to Alzheimer's or who are struggling. But our district has not ever done Gold Bucket Awards while lots of other districts have. So that Friday evening, there will be two presidents that will be called up. The president of the club that gives the most cash to CART and the president of the club that is given the most to CART per capita. Now those two presidents will get their Gold Bucket Awards, but once they've had their picture made, they will be given clippers and they'll be able to take my hair down to 1/8 of an inch. And you know what? It'll grow back. And two, I have lots of hats. But the real thing is that we could have made a huge difference for CART, for those that are suffering from Alzheimer's, those of us that may be suffering years from now, that we will have made a difference. Please join me in supporting CART this year. But speaking of the All Club Conference, I want to invite you. It is not just for President Max or for your incoming President Barney or for your leaders in your club.